Well, hello again. I'm here now joined with another programming co-director, Diana Jelića. And we are here, and we're quite pleased to tell you also, as announced earlier, that quite a few members or people involved in making of this film are here with us tonight. So I'm just going to briefly introduce some of them, and Diana will also help me doing that, and we'll invite him over to the stage for a Q&A. Elmir Jukić, the director of The Frog, is a Bosnian film director. He graduated from directing department at the Academy of Performing Arts in Sarajevo in 1993, and he's most known for the Bosnian sitcom Lud, Zbunjen, Normalan. If you translate it, it's crazy, confused, normal. Regarded as one of the most popular television series ever in Bosnia and the countries of former Yugoslavia. Elmir also worked on several other projects, award-winning projects, also Hollywood productions such as Welcome to Sarajevo and The Hunting Party. He's a senior assistant on film directing at the Academy of Dramatic Arts in Sarajevo, and also a professor of TV directing at the media department of AAB University in Pristina, Kosovo. He was also a member of the editorial board of the film magazine Cinest, published more than 80 articles about film in Slobodna Bosna, Lica, and Svijet publications. Ademir Kenović, also a name quite known in former Yugoslavia, specifically Bosnia-Herzegovina, is an award-winning Bosnian producer and film director. He wrote, directed, and/or produced a number of films that won prestigious awards, including European Film Award, François Chalet Award at the Cannes Film Festival, Tokyo Grand Prix, and many others. Ademir graduated from the University of Sarajevo in English Literature in 1969, and then studied film and art here in the United States, I believe, at Denison University in Ohio. In 1989, he was appointed professor at the Academy of Performing Arts in Sarajevo, Department of Directing, and is one of the founding partners of Fresh, production company behind this film as well. He has been producing films since the early 90s. During the war in Bosnia-Herzegovina, between 1992 and 1995, he directed and produced numerous war documentaries, among which Sarajevo, A Street Under Siege, was shown widely, and also won the British Academy of Film and Television Award. On a side note, his 1987 film, A Little Bit of Soul, is still one of my absolute favorites. I'm so happy to have him here as well. So I'll hand it over to Diana to introduce.
Sure, and I will introduce Emir Hadžihafizbegović, who probably doesn't need a special introduction, but I will say a few words about his many achievements, which cannot be accounted for in this short space of a little introduction. Emir was born in the Bosnian city of Tuzla in 1961. He received his degree in acting at the Academy of Arts in Sarajevo in 1986. He's a Bosnian film, theater, and television actor who has appeared in more than 80 roles in film, theater, and on television, spanning a career of over 30 years. To name just a few of his films that he has given memorable performances in, we can mention Fuse, Days and Hours, Jasmila Žbanić Grbavica, The Border Post, Aida Begić's Snow, and Aida Begić is here with us this year as well, which we're very proud of. The Tour, Circles, and the winner of the BHFF Audience Award for the Best Film 2 years ago, Ines Stanović's Our Everyday Life. This year, I should note, Emir is nominated twice for the Jury Award for Best Acting Performance for his roles both in The Frog that you just saw and Men Don't Cry. And actually, we just learned that we have another guest. As you can see by the number of chairs being lined up, the group is growing. So Emir is going to introduce another one of our guests, and then we'll invite them all to the stage.
Yeah, we're also quite pleased that another actor from the film, Elmir Tafa, is actually here. And at one moment, I was trying to remember who it was, and then we were kind of briefly discussing it. It's like, oh, it's the guy that beats the retiree, right? So, but Elmir Tafa is actually quite well known and one of the most prominent actors from Kosovo. He has been acting in several different kind of films and film and theater projects. and also is quite known also for his role in the series that Elmir Jukić has been directing for a while now, TV series Lud, Zbunjen, and Normal. So fantastic to have so many of them here. Amazing. And please welcome Ademir Kenović, Emir Hadžihafizbegović, Elmir Jukić, and Elmir Tafa.
We have to position Emir between Amir and myself because we will take turns translating. Wait, no. Okay. What is that?
Maybe,
what is that called? Musical chairs? Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome again to this year's BHFF. We are absolutely proud to have you here and absolutely grateful that you came to New York City to present this wonderful film to our audiences. And since there's so many of you, we're going to keep our questions short and want to open it up to the audience as soon as possible so that you can actually hear from them. But I guess I will start with Elmir, just a quick question. What wasn't mentioned in our introduction is that this film is based on a play, a very successful play that was written by Dubravko Mihanović, and you directed the play as well. I mean, it's an incredibly successful play. So here you adapted it to the big screen together with Pierre Žalica. So of course we know that these two mediums are very different, theater and film. So maybe just tell us what kind of changes were created, not necessarily in the details of the plots, but in terms of your approaches to the story itself, and maybe what was added and what the experience was like for you, adapting it from theater into, translating it from theater into film.
Hi, everybody. Basically, I tried to...
is this one?
Together with Pierre, I tried to work on it's same story, but it's about shades actually. Because story is very sensitive, very small story. If you change big things inside it, you suddenly destroyed everything. But the biggest change is everything what is in a play, what was talking about some important things in movies. Actually, live scenes. That's the most important difference between theater play, and a film. As you said, I don't want to go to the details, but that's the main difference.
I would like to ask Ademir, as someone also who has been involved with the film probably the longest from all of us here. This topic specifically, looking at wounded masculinity and specifically dealing with PTSD, where a large part of a Bosnian population, as believed, is greatly affected by trauma. This year we see two films, two sort of main feature films, biggest productions that deal with these subjects. The Frog tonight, and last night also Men Don't Cry. It has been 20 years since the end of the war, and as someone who's so closely and deeply involved with film, as a writer and producer and director, how do you interpret this, and how was it to actually produce a film like this? Is it maybe the moment when the film is ready to really deal with these subjects? Or is the film probably maybe the best equipped to address this in public than some other means of cultural production, so to say?
First, I want to say thank you very much for coming here to the audience. I want to thank everybody involved in this festival. To start with Mr. Dr. Harba, I think it's extremely important that it exists, and I would give our full support to existing it even much more strongly with lots of let's say linking of the lots of other people who are not here. So to answer on this question is very simple. I was extremely happy to learn that we shall have two films dealing with the trauma, post-war trauma, or just trauma. Not only because of Bosnia, but because the subject is obviously present in the most parts of the world. Probably not in Iceland, because they are happy and living in a very secluded island, although it's not.
Sure, we'd find some problems there too.
But what I thought is we just we feel this problem for a long time. Everybody, we learned it. It's in the air. But it's in. So we are, of course, not living only in Bosnia. We are living internationally, like everybody, most of the people now. So we found out that one of the key problems of the world today is this syndrome. No matter how it, what kind of roots it had, certain country, what were the foundation of that, and so on. So we thought that we should somehow make a local, recognizably local story at the same time in a way that it will be understood in lots of places outside, which we until now are finding more and more that's true. So in fact, at the same time, I did make a film about the war, 97, which was Perfect Circle. My first film, it was 10 years before. And I always said I was very sorry to have the opportunity to make that film, because I would rather make some kind of comedy or some kind of a easygoing film. But the situation in the world we live is heavy. So this applies also 20 years after, meaning today, to this film. I saw the play before it was premiered, when they were having rehearsals, maybe a couple of weeks before it opened. And at the same time, at that time, I said we will make a movie out of this. Nobody believed, of course, but the more they had this play all around Europe, and the more successful the play was, we understood the real necessity to make it. So there he is.
I'll also just briefly go from there. As you mentioned, these specific sort of topics that can be universal and understood elsewhere, but can have a local context. And also maybe to ask you, Elmir, as well, because the film, what I find quite remarkable, that the film also shows other kinds of trauma as well. Trauma caused by economic depression, by lack of health care, by specific really deep social problems that not only Bosnia is actually dealing with. How did this become a part of the script, actually? Could you tell us just a little bit about it?
Actually, it was in a play. Dubravko Mihanović is an extremely good writer from Zagreb, young guy from Zagreb. But the story is originally in a play based in Zagreb, in Croatia. But problem in a play, main problem in a play is so universal and so understandable and so Bosnian that it was very easy to make adaptation to Sarajevo situation, because there's the same kind of problem in the whole region.
If I can add just the thing which Elmir mentioned was also that the play was written by the guy from Zagreb, and it played simultaneously in Sarajevo and in Belgrade. So and it traveled all around ex-Yugoslavia at the same time, as well as lots of European countries. It has like amazing almost 300 performances up till now, which is huge for our part of the world. The question which you asked was for us extremely clear that everybody in a play, everybody in a story had some kind of trauma, whether they were in a front line or they were just with their parents home or whether they were somewhere outside, because it's not just a physical problem which people from trauma suffer. Well, a lot of people here who come from our regions understand it immediately. At the same time, lots of other people who are from here or from somewhere else understand that you don't have to have war in your house. If it's in your neighbor's house, you have a problem. And all kinds of problems create traumas.
Absolutely, thank you.
I'm going to ask a question of Emir, and he already knows. I told him what I was going to ask. You don't need to translate. I've just confirmed this with him. This is actually the first time that he has played a theater role and then had it played in a movie. So I was asking him about that. I don't know about his general acting process, and he's portrayed so many memorable characters over the years. It would be interesting to know how he sheds these really intense characters. But what I asked him, what I would like to hear is what has stayed of this character with him, because he has embodied him for much longer than any other character in his career. So hopefully he can say something about that.
Prije svega, dobro večer svima i hvala vam što ste došli na projekciju našeg filma.
First of all, good evening everyone, and thank you for coming to the screening of our film.
10 godina radimo predstavu i 22. decembra će biti 250 predstava žabe po cijelome svijetu i u Sarajevu, isto u režiji Elmira Jukića.
We have been doing this play for 10 years now, and in December it will be the 250th performance of this play, which has been directed by Elmir Jukić as well.
Teško je upoređivati teatar i film.
It is really difficult to directly compare theater and film.
Cilj je isti, napraviti kreaciju koja će imati feedback od publike.
The goal is the same. You want to create something that's going to elicit feedback from the audience.
Ali to je ko mali i veliki fudbal.
But this is like, I'm sorry, I'm not a soccer person. Big field and small field soccer.
Teatar se dešava tog trenutka i vi ste sa glumcem tih 90 minuta.
In theater, you are right there, it's happening at that very moment, and you're with the other actors for those 90 minutes.
A mi smo ovo što ste gledali radili prije godinu i pol dana, prošlo je razne montažne stolove, kolor korektive, fotografiju i tako dalje i gledate igrani film.
And what you saw just now, we filmed a year and a half ago, and it's gone through a lot of stages of the post-production process, and now you're seeing a finished film.
Teško mi je govoriti kao glavni lik i u predstavi i u filmu, ali mislim da smo triumfovali i u predstavi i u filmu i da je to jedna pobjednička ekipa, dakle nas 4 glumaca, Elmir Jukić i naravno kolege koje su nam pomogle u filmu, Ilir Tafa, Vlasta Vlajsavljević, Boro Stjepanović i tako dalje.
So it is really difficult to kind of compare both, but I think that we have a winning team and that we have triumphed in both these projects together with the crew, the key crew, our director, and our colleagues, the acting colleagues. And he mentioned a few names you might recognize, including Ilir Tafa, who is here.
Obzirom da ja u 24 sata imam ovdje u Njorku 2 filma i gotovo, kako bi rekao, igram ljude sa PTSD-om i u Alenovom filmu i u Elmirovom.
Considering that in the last 24 hours I've had 2 of my films screen here at this film festival, and both of those characters that I play have PTSD.
Mogu reći ono što sam sinoć ponovio, šta je ostalo od tog lika. Sinoć sam rekao, na slično pitanje ne mogu davati različite odgovore, dakle, ostalo je to iskustvo rata u Bosni i ostalo je iskustvo saradnje sa sjajnim kolegama, glumcima, Elmirom, koji mi je ukazao povjerenje i u predstavi i u filmu. I kada bih morao reći šta je ključna stvar zbog koje smo porodili i sjajnu predstavu i sjajan film, zahvaljujući naravno i našem producentu i svim ljudima koji su dali suport filmu sa te financijske strane, ali govorim sad o srži, o onome što je kreacija, a to je maksimalna posvećenost i nekako vjera da to što radimo je potrebno ispričati.
Considering that this question came up last night as well, because it was another character with PTSD, and the question was how much of that stayed with me, I cannot really give a different answer, so I can repeat that when it comes to war experience and bringing it back to the screen, the question of collaboration with other artists is a really important one and a key thing, and also the support, the financial support from those who were able to bring this project to fruition, and the dedication and belief of those who worked on the film to create this product, the finished product in the end, in such a triumphant way.
I think there are a lot of questions that I still have, but I feel we should open it to the audience.
And maybe for Ilir, just a quick question, since I believe you were not in the play, am I correct? Is not in the play, so maybe you can talk about that just a little bit. You joined a team that has kind of been a well-oiled machine, at least in theater, but of course now they were making a slightly different project, so tell us a little bit about that. What was that like for you?
Good evening, for me I want to be short, for me it was perfect to be part of this project, to have a chance to play with Emir in this project, with the producent Ademir and director Elmir. For me it was perfect. Thank you.
And you've collaborated with Elmir before in a comedy setting, right? With the Luz Buni Normalan. So how strange was it when he approached you with a rather more dramatic kind of a dark role?
We are here to speak about the film Frog, but okay. To be in one project where the director Elmir is it's perfect, more than perfect, because we learn a lot about the soap opera, about the acting, about everything. Thank you.
Kind of a mutual trust. Thank you. Thank you.
With that, I think we will open it to the audience. Just we want to make sure we have enough time. There should be mics going around, and so please raise your hand and make sure that mic finds its way to you, because we're filming this, so we want to have good sound.
There's a question over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I felt a great deal of this movie took place in a small frame within the barbershop. So we got to see the emotion in the actors' faces. So we saw the acting beyond the articulation with the skill of an actor, but also the ability to use a body and a face to express so much more. And intriguingly for me, many times when you see a movie with longer range shots, there's a frame, and so you see the frame and the movie is a little foreign and you feel like you're watching it. But with this smaller frame, it's like you're inside the room and not in the seat, in the audience. And I thought everyone did a wonderful job from the directing and the acting side, that the way the shots were made, there was no space for me to be anywhere but inside the picture itself. I couldn't be in the audience, I had to be inside the picture. And then I got to see the actor as if I were there, as if I were inside that room, and feel the emotion and see the skill of the actor to be able to convey beyond speaking and beyond simple movement in so many ways to express the emotion of what was happening. So I just sort of asked generally to the director, is that part of the scheme of the movie that you thought, you needed to have that kind of compression to draw us in deeply?
Thank you, first of all. That was one of the first decisions in preparing of the movie. I saw the movie as a close-up kind of the movie, because I strongly believe that this story is in a characters, in actors' faces. And when I prepared film Frog, I found very inspiring one movie from Israel, actually, called The Lebanon, all based in a tank. And that, for me, that was very important moment in preparing of Frog, because that was the proof that the good story and strong characters are only what is really important for the movie. It's not about space, about so many setups. It's about story and characters.
Any other questions? Oh, there's one over here.
Thank you so much. It's a really wonderful film. What I'm really struck by is the loneliness of each man, that the struggle that they have is within them, and they don't share it except in these outbursts or moments when they're stressed. And I was so poignant that I began to choke up because the loneliness is so terrible, the burden of the loneliness. And I think all the characters were really brilliant in portraying that. It was very powerful. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. Other comments, questions over there in the back?
Yeah.
We have someone.
Yeah, there's someone up there.
Good evening, everyone. I have the question for the whole team. What was the biggest challenge that you guys faced when you decided to do this stage play, to translate it into a movie? What was the thing that you said, okay, this is something we've been doing 10 years now as a stage play, and now we want to... Was there something that you wanted to do differently when you translated the play into a movie? Dakle, pitanje za cijeli tim je šta je bilo prvo što ste rekli, prva odluka šta da promijenite i da li ste išta promijenili kada ste odlučili da pozorišni tekst prevedete u filmski u film?
Maybe I can say something about this because I was kind of very close but watching it from a side. The key thing was to try to understand that almost, although Emir says it's like a small soccer and a big soccer, it's much more than that. This comparison is maybe interesting, but not quite precise. I would say it's absolutely another galaxy going from theater to film. And the problem here was serious because the play was seriously successful, and it's still now playing, and it's adored by many. I mean, they cannot play as many plays times as they are invited to. So then you have to understand how big pressure was to transform media in another media. It's exactly what the gentleman here with the first question asked, how present was everything, how everything was looking as if we are participating in that what was in a filmic way achieved by a brilliant camera, brilliant cooperation which director Yuka had with the DOP and the actors at the same time. Of course, if you say somebody, well, you're gonna see film in one barber shop and with 2, 3, or 4 actors, you would think, I'm not sure that we can support this. But what was very strong also, the story, inside story of each character was so strong that it was obviously, and your question was completely right, it was obvious that it has to be put in a movie because, you know, we were thinking all the time about the kids who are collecting guns and then go to their schools and then make horrible crimes. We were thinking about similar examples, and we were all forced to somehow try to identify these horrible things and these poor people who were facing these all events. And of course, theater has its logic and film has its completely different logic. Although the story was not changed, the screenplay had changed a lot. That's what's, for example, important for the. So then, you couldn't make any outing in the theater, and here you had some, although they were so kind of subdued that you didn't think that it's outing because of going out just technically. It was just a somehow organic part of the story, and that's why it is very important to stress that that Elmir was making his first movie, which was not very often so, I would say, highly and profoundly filmically professional. So we are happy for these all questions which you are asking, which are expressing that it was seriously successful.
Elmir, would you like to add anything to that? Or any other questions?
Well, first, I wanted to thank you for this exceptional project. And it seems to me that you've described it very well as something that reflects the universal or the human condition, but it also had, of course, a local meaning, as you explained. And in the past 6 months, I've been involved in writing introductions for a number of books that are coming out by survivors of the siege of Srebrenica, for example. Before you could say phase 1 of the genocide, or a survivor of Omarska and Luka concentration camps. And I think it is significant to reflect on the fact that these stories are just now coming out. The authors are just now able to try to write about the experience that they couldn't speak about before or couldn't express before. And I think that's something that comes across in the film, the difficulty of talking about these experiences with the family or with relatives. And that's why I think it's important to remember the local situation as well, in addition to the universal condition, in the context of not only genocide denial, let's say in Republika Srpska, but also just denial of the crimes at all. That leadership in RS says the siege of Sarajevo didn't happen.
Could we come to a question just
That's
because
the
of the
question.
interest in time?
Oh, no, that was, I thought we were asking comments.
Okay. The comment,
Making comments.
So it was just a comment.
But I'm thinking of the cultural significance, the profound significance of this film, and I wanted to thank you very much for it.
Thank you. And I think we have a question in the back. A person who's been waiting for a while. The time is running out. Maybe we have time for maybe 2 more questions. This is the first one of those.
Thank you. I'll try to be brief. As artists whose careers, if I recall well, transcend era that was before the fall of the Berlin Wall, and then, horrible events in Bosnia, including genocide, aggression genocide, and traumatic post-war recovery. How difficult it is for all of you as artists to create and pick subjects that also both bind and transcend Bosnia's horrific historic experience. Thank you.
Was this the question for Emir?
Well, perhaps. Elmir was suggesting that maybe Emir could perhaps answer it. And Emir says he should answer it. Should we toss a coin?
Okay. Yeah, well, you'll excuse in this moment actors and the director. I know that they are absolutely overwhelmed in this moment, and they're overexcited. So I can maybe tell you something from outside. You know, the thing is that we who lived these horrible moments didn't live them only home. We were participating what was happening before the Berlin Wall. We were then participating taking apart the Berlin Wall. Then I used to be one of the rare persons who was able to go out of Sarajevo and come back, because we were making these short documentary films about the siege, and we just made it with lots of complicated procedures to go and show and come back. And when people were asking me to, for example, here to write some papers and to get a green card, I said, well, I can't. I'm sorry. I feel very good here, but I don't feel safe. I don't feel secure. We somehow don't feel safe anywhere, nor in Cannes where we went, nor in Berlin, nor in Venice, nor here, because we felt all the time that we are on the top of the skyscraper and the first couple of floors are in flame. And nobody who is seriously running the world is not really doing anything to stop the flames. So that's how we feel even today. And that was this item or items which puts pressure on us to try to create something, some little signs which would eventually come to the people's minds or emotions or consciousness in order to somehow look for another better solution than than we have today.
Thank you. I think that really addresses the question. So I think we have time for one more question. If anyone wants to ask, there was a hand in the back. Changed their minds. There was one over here. Yes.
Dobar večer. So my question is, so the film revolves around PTSD and the domestic violence that's happening in households within Bosnia-Herzegovina. So is your film allowed conversations to happen more often in Bosnia with victims who have experienced these types of things and kind of not so much of an association of shame? And then my second question is one my friend asked is regarding the training involved in the film. Were there any people that were war veterans involved directly helping you guys kind of produce this?
So the question is like whether the film. Yeah. Okay. Elmir, do you want to?
Actually, we make research in a process when we making a theater show. Not as a group, but me as a director, I research a lot and talk with a lot of veterans, with some friends who were in the army, and with some doctors who are in hospitals in charge to offer some solution for veterans and some help. And that experience I used when we preparing the film.
The first question was actually, does the film help bring these conversations about domestic violence, about PTSD to Bosnian homes, right? If I understood correctly.
Yeah, I believe that.
It was obvious, this first question, I'll just help Juka this. We had screenings with 5,000 people and with, like 20 people. Every time we had a screening, it felt as it was after the screenings, as if it was a collective therapy. And unfortunately, maybe fortunately people are coming back with the questions and want to communicate those people who watch the movie. So, you know, we are not in a position to know all what you are asking. We think that it could be very important in opening the broad range of questions concerning the violence of different kinds and the repercussions on people and their states afterwards. Thank you.
And on that note, we will have to end it.
I think we're out of time.
Yes, thank you all. Thank you.
Ja bih samo zamolio jednu stvar.
Yes.
Molba jedna. Dakle, večeras s nama u Njujorku nisu još 4 čovjeka koja su direktno zaslužni za i predstavu i film. Ja želim da izgovorim njihova imena i da im zaplješćemo. To su
So let me translate the first part. So tonight with us in New York, what we're missing is 4 crucial people for the development of both the play and the film. So Emir is now going to tell you their names.
To je glumac koji je igrao mog brata, Aleksandar Seksan.
And that is the actor who plays his brother.
Taksista Mirsa Tuka.
A taxi driver.
Prodavač knjiga Muamer Kasumović.
That's the book salesman.
I čovjek koji je krivac pod navodnicima za sve, jer da on to nije napisao, ne bilo ni predstave ni filma, Dubravko Mihanović, dramatik.
And Dubravko Mihanović, who is the culprit of this all because he's the playwright.
And please, one more round of applause for Emir, Elmir, Ademir, and thank you again.
And a reminder that the film is also nominated for Audience Awards, so please cast your ballots. As you leave the theater, our volunteers will be collecting them. Thank you so much.